You know what?
What?
This was not my dream scenario.
This is your nightmare.
It kind of, yeah, I am your nightmare, dude.
We are finishing our season.
What a weird note.
I'm not going to say I didn't like the movie.
No.
Dream Scenario, starring Nicolas Cage.
Yep, 2023. Very recent.
Yeah, it came out last year. I won't say I didn't like the movie because actually I kind of enjoyed most of it.
Yeah.
But I've got some serious gripes, I'll say that.
Definitely.
And it failed on a certain level that I think is a very important level for a story.
For sure.
As a movie, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, really unique concept. I loved that. The acting was
Amazing.
very good.
Great cast.
Great cast. Great Cage. We got cagey moments. We had serious moments.
We had Tim Meadows.
Yeah.
We had Michael Cera.
Yeah,
Like, I love some of these
Michael,
guest stars.
Dude.
Yeah.
A little Sarah V.
Looking weird with his like half facial hair, like
that
his
wisp going.
unfinished beard.
It's like a classic pube beard. Why does he have that, dude?
He's just always going to look like a 14-year-old boy. He needs to accept that and stay in his lane.
I agree.
Forever. Until he's like 60.
Yeah.
Then he could look like a psychology professor or something. If
Yeah.
he puts a sweater vest on.
Definitely.
Till then, he needs to play boys.
Just boys. Boys only. Michael Cera.
But yeah, it was cool piece of cinema, I'd say. Like really cool sort of techniques, like film techniques, use of ambiance and like limited soundtracking to create tension and mood.
Totally.
Really good acting.
Yeah. I will say that this probably, as far as any movie that goes or that shows dream sequences, this was probably my favorite. I thought that they handled the dream sequence side of it really well. You know, it made me feel like it was very dreamy, surreal.
Very upsetting sequences and sort of like
Yeah.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
Like dreams sort of have that effect. Mm-hmm. Just like eerie or like something's off about this.
Definitely.
Pretty well done, I would say. From a technique point of view, this was a good movie.
Yeah. And then we talk about the writing.
The writing, yeah. Well, let's talk about what the movie is
Synopsis.
first, and then we'll give our critiques.
Yeah, fair.
This is a movie about an unassuming professor, tenured professor with a loving wife, 2 daughters, big house, good career, who is unhappy with his life, and he is sort of like insecure about the contributions he's made to his field.
Yeah.
Early in the movie, he sits down with this woman who is publishing something in his field that he used to know. He went to school with her 30 years ago.
So long.
And she's publishing something like in his field, basically, like some ideas that they talked about in college, but that she's actually then spent her career researching and he hasn't.
Yeah.
And he asks her for credit.
Yeah.
He's like, "Can I just get a writer's credit? Come on." It's this this concept of Antelligence.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of the underpinning ideas of the movie. We'll get deeper into it in our analysis, but he's a professor of like behavioral biology or evolutionary biology.
Evolutionary biology, yeah.
And one of his main ideas is that there's like a social intelligence in different animal herds. And he's always talking about herds with zebras. And he's like, the camouflage is so they can blend into the herd, not the environment. But his idea of antelligence is like a social intelligence, like in an ant colony.
Yeah.
They all have like one global brain.
Yeah.
You know, and
Hive mind.
Yeah, the hive mind. The Borg.
Borg, nice.
Or no, we'll get there later. Unreleased information.
Yeah, you'll find
for
out.
a future date. We have our own hive mind brewing. Just keep your ears open for the hyper pop space.
Seriously.
Anyways, he's into like this social animal intelligence. And yeah, he's like begging for credit on this woman's published paper.
Yeah, it's gross. I don't like watching it.
It's really uncomfortable. It comes across as very desperate and pathetic.
Yeah, immediately.
Which is really the vibe of his whole character is kind of desperate,
Yeah.
insecure.
I mean, and it's even like layered on top of that. He records their discussion on his phone and then listens to it in the car and is just even more upset with himself. It's
You see him sitting in the car like with the ick on his face. He's like, oh, I sound like that. He's like, I said those things. It's like, oh. He lies to his wife later. She's like, so did you record the conversation? Because they had clearly strategized the meeting.
Yeah.
And he was telling his wife that like, oh, she's ripping off my ideas. I should record this meeting, confront her, get my credit. Because he's like weaving a tale that makes him sound better.
Head, yeah.
The truth is that's just not happening, and he sounds sad. But yeah, she's like, so did you record it? He's like, no, I decided not to. It felt like unethical. It's like,
fuck you.
The truth is he's just so embarrassed about how cringy he was.
Oh, God, could you imagine if he showed his wife that? Oof, that's the ick, dude.
So we have this guy who's clearly insecure. He wants more from his life. He wants more sort of recognition for his contributions. He wants more prestige as a professor. Yeah,
recognized. And even farther than that, you know, he doesn't want to just be known as a professor. He wants to write a book.
He wants to be a researcher.
Yeah.
He wants to be like a spearhead kind of guy in his field, like Antelligence.
Yeah.
It's going to be big one day.
Oh, will it?
So the next sort of turn in this story is that, lo and behold, everyone starts dreaming about this guy. He's just showing up in everyone's dreams.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Yeah, they sort of feed you this a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm. It starts with his daughter. It's the very, very first one to bring it up.
And they all are talking about it at dinner. They think it's weird. And she's like, yeah, you're just sort of there. You don't do anything.
Yeah, the observer.
Yeah, passive observer. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like embarrassed, or he's like insecure that even in the dreams he's like not making an impact. He's like, you don't think I don't do anything in real life, do you? And then more people start to confess or like approach him, or he starts to like overhear conversations, and the snowball gets bigger. And like he slowly but surely you realize like, okay, everyone is dreaming about this guy, like everyone on Earth.
Yeah, which is really cool concept for a movie. It's super fun.
And the first third of this movie is like lighthearted, sort of dark comedy. I'd say
it's pretty
like,
whimsical. I like it.
Like it's a little spooky, but or like ominous, but it's still funny and overall light, I would say. And then he sort of like immediately leans into it.
Yeah, really hard.
He's so gratified
that
he's getting attention and he feels important. He even goes on TV and says, I guess I'm just special.
Yeah, I know. Gross.
So he really leans into it because, like I said, his background is insecure and he wants more. And so the second he gets it, he latches onto it.
Absolutely.
And he starts feeding off of it. And then it turns again.
Yeah.
And the dreams are getting darker and weirder. And someone breaks into their house. And they're like, I'm mentally unstable. They've got a knife. Mm-hmm. And they realize they're unsafe. His wife is like, I told you we should have played this different. He's like, what do you mean?
No responsibility ever, dude, for his actions.
Like not thinking about it.
No, like doesn't even cross his mind.
Yeah. And then the dreams, like he meets this girl and she implies that her dreams are like extra weird. Yeah. And then she invites him out for drinks after this business meeting and reveals to him that they're sex dreams and that he's been like showing up in her dreams, coming out of the shadow of the corner of her room.
It's just Nick Cage.
And then just like fucking her on her couch.
Yeah, pretty forcefully too. It seems it's like
pulling her hair.
Yeah.
And she says she loves it.
Yeah.
Like she's like, no, it's great. The sex is great in these dreams. And he's so sheepish and awkward because he's just that way. His personality is not what she's dreaming. There's a whole scene that follows where she invites him back to the apartment and she wants to like recreate the fantasy of the dream where he emerges from the shadows and he's like playing along with it,
but he just can't. He can't do it. It's not him. You know. It's
Yeah.
not the person from her dreams. He fucking farts.
He farts. She touches his belt and he comes in his pants
And then farts.
and he just runs away.
Yeah, he leaves.
That was funny.
Well, there was a lot of really funny parts to this movie. That was especially funny. But yeah,
It was also really uncomfortable because the whole time I'm just yelling at the TV, like, don't cheat on your wife.
yeah, that's the other thing. It's
Don't do it.
It was never addressed again. I mean, he kind of did. They didn't really get anywhere, but they still kissed
for like 10 seconds and then she touched his pants and he came.
Yeah,
I would call it cheating.
100%. Sad cheating.
It's really pathetic, but he tried to cheat. You know, he allowed the situation to unfold. And he keeps mentioning, he's like, I've got a wife. She's like, I know. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, does it? It's like,
Yeah.
why'd you say that then?
Yeah.
If you're not going to not do it, the fuck are you doing?
I don't know.
Awkward scene.
I mean, this is like right around the time that the movie starts to, I feel like, lose itself
Yeah.
a little bit. You know, lose track of what it's trying to say.
So now the dreams start getting violent.
Very.
And in most people's dreams now, his character is coming after them and killing them, either beating them to death, strangling them. In some cases, it's a rape thing.
Yeah.
Basically, like serial killer status. He is hunting people like Freddy Krueger in their dreams now.
Yeah, and like within the span of a week, it seems like it goes from him being, you know, almost globally adored and recognized to hated.
Yeah.
like
Feared.
feared.
Like,
yeah, that's a better
the
way.
kids in his class won't come to school anymore because they all seem to be traumatized by the mere presence of him because of what they've seen in their dreams, to the point that the dean has to sort of just suspend him. Yeah. He's like, you just can't be here. Like, I don't know what to do. He's like, he even says, like, he's unsure. He's like, I just need to talk to HR. I don't know what is happening.
There's no playbook for that shit, you know?
It's like, you're in people's dreams, like, traumatizing kids. He's like, it's not me. He's like, well, I know it's not you, but...
Oh, yeah, can we talk about that? There was like a little weird rant about trauma.
Yeah, I wrote that down,
Did
too.
you? Yeah.
I want to talk about that
Yeah.
in its connection to all of the cancel culture stuff. There's a whole bunch of, like, social and cultural messaging in this movie in, like, the last third of the movie.
Yeah.
That we both feel was not handled very succinctly, or it wasn't very coherent, I guess.
No.
I do want to talk about that.
We can touch on it, though.
He basically, he says to the dean, because the dean says the kids are traumatized, and he's like, trauma is a trend these days. Everything is trauma. You wake up and have a bad day, it's trauma.
Bad grades, trauma.
Trauma. It's like, they need to grow up, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, being very dismissive of the younger generation's sort of relationship to their own mental health, or like...
Yeah, it seemed pretty dismissive of, like...
Right.
I don't even know if it was intentional. I mean, I guess it was. It was just so weird, you know? It seemed out of pocket. It's like, sure, I'm sure there's some cases where, you know, trauma is being overblown, but, like, to trash on, like, youth for not...
It seemed very boomery.
Totally boomery, dude.
Which I think is the point. Like, there's a whole theme in this movie about cancel culture and, like, people who were once sort of social media darlings getting canceled and then only having the only space left for them is like the alt-right bubble. Yeah. And you go on Tucker Carlson and you do Rogan. Yeah. And his publicist is like pitching him these ideas. He's like, I don't want to be a culture warrior. And, you know, unfortunately, the writer of the movie didn't really like give us anything. There was no analysis of these ideas in the movie. They just sort of like present them at surface level.
Show them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't think they handled any of that.
Yeah,
very well.
They didn't really give you much to chew on. They just sort of threw a lot of broad themes and ideas at you.
Yeah. But yeah, continuing with where the plot went.
Yeah, the plot continues forward with him getting canceled basically by the whole culture.
The entirety of the world.
For things that he's not doing.
Yeah.
It's truly one of those situations where I can't even talk about the plot without talking about these themes.
I know. Yeah. We just kind of have to.
Yeah, we got to plow through it because basically he makes this apology video because shit gets so out of hand. He doesn't want to do it, but his wife is telling him like, our girls are getting bullied. I almost got fired. He's like, you need to reconcile this. And he doesn't want to do it because it's not his fault. He hasn't done anything to apologize for.
Yeah.
And in the context of this movie, that's 100% true.
And fair.
It's fair. But it seems like what the movie is doing in that moment is it's generating sympathy in us for people in real life who have been canceled, and you're supposed to see them as the victim. And he even says in his little video, he's like, am I not the biggest victim here?
Yeah, it's such a self-serving, weird apology. I mean, it's like the wife says. Like, the wife says it,
She says that, and so the movie is aware that of what they're talking about, but it's just weird because in the context of the movie, he's not wrong.
Yeah, it really makes me feel like it's like trying to coerce me into like feeling some sort of way about people who've been like victims, quote unquote, about cancel culture people.
Yeah,
it's like
whereas in real life, usually people who have been quote unquote canceled, that's happened to them by their culture for concrete reasons. They've done something that the culture views as harmful.
The far majority of the time.
Yeah. I'm sure we can pluck out a few counter examples of people who have just sort of like fallen victim to groupthink.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure they're there.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the people who are getting ridiculed and they're getting their marketing deals pulled and they're getting their shows canceled on different platforms.
Yeah.
It's because nobody wants to touch you because you've been toxic or you've done something horrible.
Yeah, you probably did some weird, creepy shit.
Yeah, like Kanye West has done
perfect,
insane shit and said insane neo-Nazi propaganda shit. He's a sexist, etc., abuser. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't want you on my fucking show either.
I'm not going to feel bad for that guy.
I'm not. You can't make me think that Kanye's the victim here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it felt weird as a viewer of this movie because in those scenes, I felt like I was being manipulated into a point of view where you're supposed to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because in that, you are, you know?
Because the movie he truly is the victim.
But is it supposed to just be about in this little movie universe that he created? Because why bring it up? I don't know. Why bring it up if you're not trying to have some sort of overarching theme about it, you know?
Yeah, and that's really where this movie fails for me.
Oh, me too.
as a story, it fails because it has no message.
No.
Like it doesn't create a strong claim or present an argument for a claim that we could then tackle. We can't like talk about any of the points because the movie's not making any strong points.
No, there's just like 8 different surface level ideas, themes.
Yeah.
And the guy who made the movie, I feel like was just like, all right, we're going to make a movie about a guy, he invades everyone's dreams. We're going to talk about this, movie end. It does almost nothing for me in that sense, sadly.
Me too. Another one of the interesting things that they do in the movie, just to get everything on the table before we deep dive these things. The final twist is that basically after he accidentally hurts someone in real life because his life is spiraling and like a situation gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And right after that happens, all the dreams go away.
Yeah.
And then researchers develop a technology called like Norio that allows you to do what he's been doing by mistake, but on purpose. It's like a Apple Watch type of thing you wear, and you can do targeted meditation and enter people's dreams.
Yeah.
And they use it as dreamfluencers.
It's literally
or mind-vertisers. And they come into your dream with products, and they like put the new like Reebok shoes on your feet. Like, you look good in those, man. Like, they sell you like metabolism pills and
alpha
powders.
beta blockers.
Yeah. Yummy Foods presents like, in your dream. So that's a big twist. Basically, the movie asserts that the collective consciousness or the collective unconsciousness is real.
Yeah.
The Carl Jungian psychology is real. And that's how these dreams were manifesting. And he was somehow like getting in there.
Yeah, channeling it somehow.
Accidentally. But then, like everyone accepts that that's real. And now it's just like a marketing strategy.
And that's it. That's the whole statement on it.
Yeah, there's no... Okay, so that's on the table. Let's talk about these themes.
I guess I could go into specifically about that. I guess it could be like slightly a statement on capitalism. Like, capitalism's the only reality that stays constant and everything else is shifting. But it's just like, fuck you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Okay, so you've got this insecure guy who wants more from life.
Yeah.
He gets a little bit of attention, feeds off of it,
Naturally.
and he gets more than he bargained for.
Yes.
Okay, so we have sort of a situation that is a commentary on celebrity culture.
Yeah. Viral sensationism now, like blowing up overnight.
Like not knowing what you're actually asking for and then not understanding the consequences, not handling the attention well, making a bunch of mistakes in the public eye, and then getting burned for it. The people are writing loser on his car. They're filming him in public.
Yeah.
They're spitting on his food at the cafe. So you have these ideas of like publicity, the public life versus like the private life. And like when those boundaries get blurred, the individual's like inability to navigate that in a healthy way. Then you have the broader topic of like Twitter, cancel culture, groupthink, Antelligence. The Twitter intelligence.
Collective consciousness.
This idea that like once an idea starts spreading, it becomes uncontainable, like a virus or like a meme.
Yeah.
Like memetics, most people probably know this by now, but that comes from biology.
Yeah.
The idea that an internet is meme, it's called a meme, comes from like genetics, and memetics is a form of that. It's like the mental gene that can get passed on through conversation or whatever. It's like a mind virus. And so they're making this sort of commentary that like once it starts spreading, it's unstoppable. There's no sort of like inoculation against memetic virality.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to people getting canceled, is like the groupthink is too strong.
Is this movie an anti-woke mind virus movie?
I don't think that it even has a position, which is my main problem. I would rather it be anti-woke, alt-right,
sure,
Jordan Peterson shit that I could like break down point for point.
Yeah, why this is wrong.
And
blah,
be like,
blah,
I
blah,
disagree with that. I agree with this.
Yeah.
These ideas are inconsistent. That's not happening in this movie, though.
No, it literally is just splits off in either direction whenever the fuck they want.
It's like the classic situation of someone just being like, I'm just asking questions, but not actually like posing a conclusion, drawing an actual conclusion or posing a claim.
I'm just asking questions, man. It's fun. Just want to bring it up.
Okay, but why did you ask the question if you don't have a conclusion that we could talk about? So it feels very unsatisfying because these themes are so surface level.
Yeah.
And they're being thrown at you in quick succession.
Yeah.
But then the writer is not digging in.
Ever. Like on a single one. It's crazy. I guess the groupthink one is probably the most overarching theme of the whole movie. How it can like isolate you and all of that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
Man, this movie just kind of felt insincere a little bit from the writer's perspective, which sucks because I liked every other aspect of it.
It almost reminds me of, so the main character goes to this marketing firm called Thoughts with a question mark run by Michael Cera. And they're like these really hipster sort of like disingenuous marketing tech bro kind of personalities that are trying to connect to them. They're like, we think you could do good with like Sprite. Picture this. Like, they're like, Sprite is going off the deep end. They want us to take over their socials, whatever. If they're into it, we're going to do it. Picture this. You, every night, we post a picture of you with Sprite. Get that into people's dreams. So they're just as like hyper capitalist, like venture marketers who are trying to like get his, capture his virality and make money off of it. It almost felt like the whole movie was like that energy.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Thoughts?
Like, I'm just asking questions.
I'm just having thoughts, dude.
Okay, I know you don't like this, and this is going to go contrary to everything you just said, but they're going to pull the deal if we don't go on this quick. Just super insincere and just like out for itself. I will say it is thought provoking,
Sure.
but to what end?
Piss me off, and it just pissed me off a little bit. I'm a little hot because I wish they would have done something. I don't know.
I think one interesting sort of like takeaway, I guess, that has value for me is when you actually stop looking at the sort of broad cultural themes that are being shoved at you.
Yeah.
And just look at it more at a character level.
Yeah.
Our main character is, by most metrics, a successful man. He has a loving wife, kids, a big house, good job. He's a professor in a field that he's passionate about. He's got like everything that people sort of like would quantify as the American dream.
Yeah. It's like respectable but unremarkable.
The problem in his mind is that he's internalized himself as a loser, and he wants more. He's unsatisfied, and he doesn't think about anything other than the fact that he wants more. So he's like, he has this emptiness in him, and that's what gets him in all this trouble ultimately.
Yeah.
And so if there is any sort of a message here, I feel like, and it's a positive one, but I feel like maybe it's just that don't let your head like run away from you.
Yeah.
Like, don't let yourself get into this sort of neurotic self-doubting loop where it's like, my life sucks, I'm never going to be something, when the truth is that you already are something and your life is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And you can just make more of it if you choose to. You know, that's...
Yeah, like the grind core mentality, like of like needing to work 100 hours a week.
I know that.
Let me see your pay stub, bro.
124, my guy.
God. But I think that's a pretty positive message from a character level in this movie.
Yeah, I would.
They're not very explicit about that even being a message. It's just something more that I drew out of it.
Definitely. I mean, and he does have a decent little bit of character development throughout the movie, you know? It seems like towards the end he seems a little more appreciative of like his wife.
Well, he loses her, so they break up.
Yeah, I guess he better fucking appreciate what he had.
He loses her and only gets like partial custody with the daughters, and he's like, they show him moving into a new apartment, and he's asking about the wife. Is that new guy coming over? Is he staying over? Or, you know, so the movie actually wraps up with him trying desperately to like enter her dreams.
Yeah.
And it's actually a nice callback because earlier in the movie, she tells him one of her fantasies is that he would dress up like he did one Halloween in this oversized talking head suit and rescue her from danger. And he's like, really? That's your fantasy? He makes fun of her at the time, but it's the dream that he's able to like reach her with at the end.
Yeah.
And he puts his Norio watch on.
But also, does that like mean anything? Because if it is specifically said, unless the person is willing to like have you there, you know, then you can't be there. So does that mean like...
I think that means she accepts it.
Yeah.
Because it says the technology, the guy who created the Norio is like doing an instructional video, and he says, you need to visualize someone who would actually accept you in their dreams, first of all. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And then they have to... It's like an active consent system. So like if they don't want you in the dreams, it cancels it out right away.
Yeah. So does that mean there's like hope for him and his wife?
That's what I took away. It was a positive note because
Yeah.
the last scene is him successfully putting himself into her dream in the talking head suit, rescuing her from a fire, and she's like smiling and they're walking away.
Then they start floating. The last words he says is, "I wish this was real."
I wish this was real.
Yeah.
And it's sort of sad because it was real.
Yeah.
She was your wife, bro.
Yeah, and
You fucked your life up.
Yeah.
I wish it was real. Like
through his fault and some not his fault, but you know.
Yeah, I guess it's like the snowball was out of his control.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's pushing the snowball down
He
the hill.
certainly didn't make any good decisions, though.
What a weird fucking movie, dude. I don't know.
There's a lot to be, I think, discussed about the relationship between like the individual and the society.
Sure.
And like sometimes I do think about things like just little things, like things that you might think are your decisions, but they're not.
Yeah.
I've never actively chosen what I like or dislike
Yeah.
in any capacity. Like, I don't like vanilla ice cream because I made the choice to like it. It's just good to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
So, and that's true of like all media that I like. Like, I just grew up in an environment where things were like injected into my brain through my five senses. And some of them I am attracted to, some I'm not. Those are not conscious choices.
No.
Right. So, like, in a very concrete way, my identity has been shaped by my world and environment and people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could identify myself by my name, but I could also just as equally say, I am my sister's brother. I'm my mom's son. Those are equal identifiers, but they put me in a relationship context. So like this idea that like there even is an individual is sort of abstract and weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not strictly speaking like true. The boundaries are more porous than we might want to believe.
Absolutely. Yet here we are.
Exactly. The other side of the coin is like we do sort of operate in the world with a distinct body.
Absolutely.
We have distinct boundaries with each other. Those relationships are defined between individuals. So like there's a collective and an individual, and their interplay is mysterious.
For sure. And unknown, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't understand most of it, I'd argue, you know?
Right. And so like, you know, he's insecure at the beginning of the movie. How much of that is his fault? How much of that is what the world's done to him?
Yeah.
There's a few moments where I'm like questioning it too. In the movie, he says he's at a dinner date with one of his old colleagues, and he mentions, or the colleague mentions, that he had been having dinners with this philosopher.
Yeah, Nick Bostrom.
And the main character is like, "Oh yeah, didn't I introduce you to him? I showed him your work, I showed you his work."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I don't think you did."
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I being gaslit right now? Or like, which of these guys is lying?
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. I was thinking about that as well, and I mean, it's like if the guy, if Paul, our main character, if he was really just that, like if he's that fake, you know, if he's putting himself out there trying to inject himself into other people's lives in that sense.
To create value.
Yeah, to create, or that other guy's just a dick.
Or like he's so forgettable that the other guy has just like basically made a new narrative.
Oh yeah, just deleted him out of that connection.
Yeah.
In his mind. Yeah.
Because our memories are notoriously fallible.
Of course.
Like to the point that courtrooms barely lay any credence to like an eyewitness testimony. Like we really
Nowadays.
can't remember shit for detail, or like our memories are sort of like shaped by our emotions and the way something made us feel.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why nostalgia is so powerful. But like, yeah, did this guy just sort of crop Paul out of the picture and then tell himself a new story about how he met this philosopher on his own to make his own life more valuable?
Yeah.
Or is Paul doing the exact same thing in the other direction?
I think Paul's doing it. Personally.
That's your take?
That's the way it felt to me. Just like the immediate, like the way he like turns his head away and he's just like he got called out for not being the person, you know?
Kind of, but then there's another example. So he's at that coffee date with the woman who's publishing her research on social intelligence. And the first takeaway is like, okay, Paul's full of shit. He's desperate, wants credit.
Yes.
And it's embarrassing.
Yes.
At the end of the movie, you see her publish the work, and she uses his term Antelligence.
Yeah.
After she told him at the breakfast she wasn't going to use it. That's not the focus of her research. And he's like, oh, okay, because you know I coined that, right? And then big, bold letters at the top of the article.
Antelligence? Question mark?
Yeah. And so I'm like, wait, she's the one bullshitting him.
Yeah.
And he's just so insecure he doesn't know how to handle it.
The way I took that is that she wasn't bullshitting him at first, and she only did that once he became notorious.
And now she's latching on to the virality.
Exactly. I still think in the beginning she was not. She didn't actually give him any credence or credit.
Yeah.
But since he became someone worth attaching your name to, then it's worth using Antelligence.
It's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah.
I think a big part of why these scenes were included is for us to have this type of a conversation,
Yeah.
or like have it with yourself, because it's exploring the interplay between self-perception and public perception.
Yeah.
What do you think of yourself, and how does that match up to what other people think of you? And if the difference is too strong, how does that affect your ability to like cope with reality or like navigate the world?
Yeah, or even what is your reality if you're that detached from it, you know?
Yeah.
That could be
Like
dreams.
detachment. It's the difference between a dream scenario and a nightmare.
Exactly.
I am your nightmare. Like, are you just not really like seeing yourself for what you are?
Yeah. Do you have blinders on? Do you think you're actually a really great person? You know?
Yeah. That's one of my fears. Of course, I think it's one of most people's fears.
It is.
Is that
Especially when you so visually see it on other people, when they're so detached
Yeah.
from their own reality.
it's easy for me to identify it in other people.
Very, but
And by the nature of ourselves, it's very difficult for us to like sort of self-therapize.
Yeah.
And to see it when it's happening in ourselves. We're like, oh, I'm behaving in a way that I wouldn't appreciate, but like if someone else behaved that way, but I'm unable to like sort of recognize that I'm doing it until much later.
or even if you do recognize it and do it anyways, that's another level to it.
justify it.
Yeah, that's rough, dog.
Now you're an oppressor. Now you're a fascist.
Oops, all oppressors.
Yeah, well, if I did it, you deserved it.
Bitch.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to talk about with these ideas.
Of course.
I just think that the movie didn't talk about them.
That's the thing. We're talking about
Yeah,
them.
we're talking about
Which,
it.
in a way, you know,
I'm just asking questions. It's like,
it's not entirely wrong of them to. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, right? They
Right.
can make a movie like this where it's maybe, sure, their intention is just to have us be thinking about
it's
it.
thought-provoking.
Sure. But, come on, dog. Make a fucking statement. Don't be such a
Yeah.
pussy.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Just make a claim.
Yeah, anything.
Have an argument.
Anyone. Yeah, don't
Right.
just throw shit at the wall and hope that my brain lets it stick.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I'm the one doing the work now.
Seriously. Fuck, dude.
So, yeah. I mean, if you want to have a spooky, ominous, dark comedy experience and then do all the philosophical work on the back end, you should watch A Dream Scenario.
Definitely.
Because it's pretty cool.
It's a weird way to end the season.
Yeah, a little bit of a letdown, I
little.
think. It would have been stronger to finish with the
Oh,
unbearable weight.
Way stronger. I don't know. I mean, it is interesting in some ways that we had this be our end of season episode because I mean, in a couple ways, this kind of like the way this movie makes me feel mirrors Nick Cage's his entire career.
Yes, the ambivalence.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like,
Is
man,
this a good career?
sometimes I am just flying high, Cage tattooed on my chest, bro. I am here for it. And other times we have to watch A, B, C, D, you know? And it's been such a wild ride that it's slightly fitting that
Yeah.
we're ending with such weird ambiguity. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, and like I said, I actually enjoyed most of the movie.
As
I
did
wouldn't
I.
say it's a bad movie at all.
No, it's not.
I don't want our critiques to come across too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I just think it failed in a critical way.
Yeah.
Which was, a letdown. Like, it's an important way that it failed.
Definitely, you know. I mean,
But it was, in all other ways, a pretty damn cool movie.
yeah, which is why I'm so conflicted and confused. It's just like,
I want to like it more than I like it.
yeah, definitely. I wanted it to give me more. I wanted to chew on something that wasn't just me chewing on things I already think about.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we're only at 40 minutes.
know,
but This
dude.
could be a short ending. End the season with a sigh.
I don't want to end this
I mean-
with a sigh.
We'll be back with the bracket episode too.
And this is not our last episode
Of course
about
not.
Nicolas Cage either.
We'll be doing many standalone episodes as
Oh.
new movies come out.
I plan on
Every one.
hitting that man up, dog. Until Nick Cage comes on the podcast, we're doing every Nick
Yeah.
Cage movie.
day 567 of doing a Nicolas Cage podcast every day until he comes on our podcast.
No. Torture.
I mean, eventually he'd get there. We would just go viral.
I think so, probably, right?
And that's our new business model.
I don't know. Is it too early to announce who our next pick is? Season 2?
I feel like this is a good place to do it, actually.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Booty whiskey. We didn't do intros.
No, we never did intros. We'll just play the music over some other part. So yeah, we are going to do another season
Yes.
of a single actor.
Yes.
Following some of their most, basically just our favorite movies of theirs.
Yeah.
There's no objective criterion for why we picked the movies we
Nope.
picked. It's just the ones we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We're always going to do that.
Absolutely. This is about us
Yeah.
in the long run. You know?
Yeah. You are listening to us.
Yeah.
We're not listening to you.
We're not listening to you.
Hello.
Oh, God. Those accents are going to come back all the time.
We are going to do
Dude, Natalie,
Portman.
let's fucking go.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
She is a great actress.
Yeah.
With a really cool, varied filmography.
Extremely.
lot
And
to
she's
pick
done
from.
a couple of her own works recently, which I'm excited
Like
to get
directing?
into. Directing and writing.
And writing.
Yes.
Multi-talent.
Media mogul.
Multi-hyphenate. Just like me. We're like basically just as good.
I mean,
but-
I'm pretty much like Portman, and you're like Natalie, dude.
yeah,
Shit.
dude. Portman.
Dude, Natalie. Oh, we can't do the inside joke.
We're pretty excited for the Natalie Portman season.
Yes.
We are going to have this Nicolas Cage season come out weekly.
Yes.
Obviously, by the time you're listening to this, it's the last episode.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, you do.
I think this will be the 16th episode, so by the time you're listening to this, the Natalie Portman season is done.
Yeah.
And-
I mean, it's going to be a little bit shorter, too. I think
Yeah.
we settled on like either 10 or 12 episodes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think 10 is what we picked.
Yeah. I mean, she also doesn't have 132 movies to choose from, so, you know,
Yeah.
it's a little different.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many good ones.
Oh, man. I can't wait for Black Swan, dog.
Movie for Ventura, Leon the Professional.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really fun season, I think. And it's just going to be great to switch it up, have a female as our lead focus, too. I think that's going to really change a lot of the conversations, too. It's
Yeah,
gonna
well,
be
we won't
really
get
interesting.
canceled for only focusing on white men,
Let's go.
which was the original plan. But
Yeah, white women.
maybe if we're going into season 2 and it's coming out and people are actually listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to get some audience feedback at that point. Let us know for season 3 because we're definitely locked in on Natalie Portman for season 2.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But let us know for season 3 if people would be interested in a switch to more of like a themed season instead of
Yeah.
a single actor focus.
We would love to do genres of fucking
Yeah.
We are sci-fi heads
I want
over here.
to do a big dystopian sci-fi run.
God, I love it. But at the same time, we do, to an extent, want to give you what you want, you know?
As long as it's what we want.
Yeah, we have to like it, too.
It has to be close enough to what we want.
But yeah, I mean, by then, we'll have socials up. I mean, we might even be able to run a poll somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, we've been thinking we could do a third actor. We could also do some sort of theme, genre,
But I mean, we could even,
decade.
studio, director, all the options are limitless. It just has to be fucking
Yeah.
about movies.
Exactly.
You know?
So yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
We're still going to do the Nicolas Cage bracket, determine which of the 16 movies we watched is the best.
Not fucking this one, dog.
No, not this one.
Yeah.
No spoilers. It's spoilers. It's not this one or Vampire's Kiss.
What?
WXYZ.
Oh, jeez, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, what a fun time. I can't believe that we've talked about Nick Cage for like 17 hours.
I know, that's pretty ridiculous.
So silly.
almost done one every week. We've taken a few weeks off just because life gets in the way. But over the last 20 weeks, we've done 16 movies.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's been a journey and a half.
Yeah. Booty Whiskey Podcast, we're becoming sort of what you would call the Rockefeller of of the podcasting space, sort of the biggest imprint possible.
Yeah. I mean, just cultural warriors.
I don't want to be a cultural warrior. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No, we're going to take over Tom Segura's studio because they're kind of...
These fucking jeans.
Might as well give us all their microphones now and clear out shop.
Fucking A, man. Well, this has been a blessed time.
Yeah.
Tell
Cue
you
the
what.
outro music.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's not the outro
Wait,
music.
what?
It's not circus music. That's all, folks.
That's all. Oh, fuck. What
All right.
a fun time.
We love you guys. No introductions. You don't need to know our names for the 16th time.
You better know who we are.
You can't tell me my name.
Say my name. Say my name.
God. All right.
Cage is going to live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
Have you seen me in your dreams? Was I doing something useful? If I show up in your dream, what would it mean? Am I here to help you? Am I here to haunt you? I wish that I was famous. I wish I was important. I wanna be seen. I wanna be known. Somebody please notice me. I wanna be heard. I wanna be found. Somebody, anybody, notice me. Do we share a common mind? Working ants within a hive. Who's the queen? Who does she love? I was the king of Antelligence. He was once a peaceful dream traveler. Now he's become a violent dream ravager. You are not welcome here, for you are the one we fear. Nicholas, don't eat my dreams. 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 I wanna be seen. I wanna be known. Somebody please notice me. I wanna be heard. I wanna be found. Somebody, anybody, notice me. Do we share a common mind? Working ants within a hive. Who's the queen? Who does she love? I was the king of Antelligence.